When you come into the world, we take on the identity of those who are more powerful than us. What we're looking for is a kind of person who is looking for meaning. What's the meaning of life? Why am I here?
Welcome to the Sunday Conversation. I'm Alan Masters. I hope you're having a safe and happy time while you have some time to yourself. I'm actually enjoying it. You know, I was at my father's house the other day in his office looking around to find a few things that I could perhaps bring to the table and talk to you guys about. My father's office is a treasure trove. I know you guys have seen the Be Still and Know manuscript that I found from 1965. And I treasure this. To me, this is a treasure. And I'm going to reprint this and other things I found. But I found a file. And in that file, I found another interesting little piece of treasure. And I found actually quite a few. And I'm going to share them with you here just a little bit. Here's another one from August 25th, 1965. The Naughty Imagination. And this one is the same type of a thing. It's very old and it's kind of falling apart, but the wisdom that it contains is unbelievable. One thing that I found that I think is perhaps the biggest piece of treasure of all is something that my father wrote when he was just 23 years old. And it's not dated, but he actually says, I am 23. So I'm going to read this to you today. And because it's just so cute. It's getting a glimpse into my father when he was just a young man, in his own words. But I also found something that I thought was really interesting in his own personal area of, I'm not going to say collectibles, but things that he felt was important, was a lecture that I did in 2013 called I Stand Ready. And I know that this lecture seemed to have gotten lost for a while because we went looking for it and couldn't find it. But my dad kept a copy of it, and I want to play that today because it's a time in my life when I actually realized what my purpose was in this life. So the question is, are you ready to start your life? Do you know what your purpose is? And I think that's what this is all about, is trying to find what your purpose is in life. So let me just read this for you real quick. This piece of paper is obviously old and tattered, but again, the wisdom here from a 23-year-old young man is amazing. It says this: I must write, but I have never written before. As I sit here, I don't even know what I'm going to say. So great is the urge that I feel something will be said. Now, isn't that something my father has always said? He says, as I sit here, I don't even know what I'm going to say. I've said that before too. My father says a lot of times throughout his life, he says, if you just show up, so will your Creator, and you will do His work. He goes on to say, I have wondered. For 5 years, I have spent my energies beating paths to corners of the earth. I have met many people, ... I have learned many things, ... Yet, the more I seem to know, the more I seem to realize how little is my knowledge. First, before I go on, I must look at myself. What is it that drives me? ? Let me understand the tremendous force that impels me. For normally, it is with difficulty that I make myself write home to the ones I love. Sometimes I talk and teach, and in so doing, teach myself some things that have never been apparent until they become words. I think tonight, then, I am trying to teach myself something with an exclamation point. He added the exclamation point later with a pin. I have done so many things in my short life. I am 23. I have accomplished much. Mostly in the way of developing a tremendous confidence in myself that seems to burn as a furnace. I've had many upsets and many dents knocked into me. Often it makes for bitterness. But the dents have not harmed me. Rather, they have softened, added to my person, and opened my eyes. Last paragraph. I feel my confidence glow. People I meet are attracted and take with them some of the flame. The more of it I give, the more of it I seem to have. And as they bend to take the light, I see the clay of which I am. And this page is not dated. It's got a big stain on it. But it, I believe, is probably the first thing my father has ever written. And it's just beautiful. He was 23 years old, all by himself in America. And so I think as I find these things, as I unearth these things on his desk, I want to bring them to you. And I want to reprint some of them. As a matter of fact, another thing I found was in 2003, my father asked me to help him record his meditation exercise in my studio. And I did. And we're going to make a special project out of this. Watch out for that. I think it'll be great. But for right now, I'm wearing the same suit I was in 2013. I have glasses now because I'm older. I guess I might be a little wiser, but I like this guy. This guy said, I stand ready. Do you? Enjoy. Welcome, everybody. Today is April 21st, my wife's 50th birthday. I should be with her right now, but I'm not. I'm with you because I take this opportunity very seriously, and she was more than happy to get the hell rid of me. I realize that we are all called to duty, and we can either choose to hear the calling and rise to the occasion and do it without allowing all of the doubts and all of the noise in our head to interfere with that. And that can either be, doing something like this, of which my doubt says to me over and over again, who are you? Why are you? Why do you think you have the right to sit up there? Well, it's my building. That's what my head says. I can do it. It's my building. So then the conversations, which are dialogues with the devil, you might say, the conversations start. Well, what have you got to talk about? Nothing. Well, then see. Yes, but when I'm ready, if I'm a vessel, it will come through me. Well, but you really don't know what your father knows. You're not your father. I know, he's old. And I think to myself, I'm not supposed to be my father. You guys aren't supposed to be my father. What I'm supposed to do first is to find out how to believe in Jesus and what Jesus came here for. And who in here, with a raise of hand, has watched the movie The Bible? Just recently, the newest one. If you have to think about it, you didn't. Because it was just on recently. I suggest that you all watch that. It was epic. And perhaps because it gives us pictures that we all, we all have such perceptions of what Bible stories are and what people look like, and it's such a fog. And then when you watch what Mark Burnett and Roma Downey was responsible for Touched by an Angel, that TV series, and they got married, and Mark Burnett is an incredible producer. Everything from American Idol to what are some of the other ones that he's done? He's done Survivor, and I mean everything the guy touches. I believe while the Bible was on, he had a #1 television show on every network, on like 5 networks at the same time. This guy is touched by an angel. So to take what he has risen in his craft to do, in his discipline to do, and then deliver us something like the Bible, and in a way that we can see it with our eyes and see kind of the stories take place and have something to kind of wrap our little pea brains around. In many cases, I mean, that's how I feel about myself. It helped me to have some better understanding about some of those stories, and I kind of went, oh, now I put the pieces together a little better, and I thought Jesus would be a good-looking dude. Just silly things, of course. The guy who played Jesus was just awesome. Even my dad said, he said that Jesus guy was amazing. So, but I watched this, and toward the end, I saw something that I was perhaps needing to see. So if nothing else, it delivered a little something to me to help disintegrate a little bit of doubt. Because that's what happens to doubt. When light shines on it, it's gone. It's like a shadow. If there's a shadow, it's because something is blocking the light. And you see the outline of the shadow. But if you take that light and shine it on the shadow, it's gone. And last week we were talking about how the one lady said she had the little wiggly worm inside of her. And to me, I see that little wiggly worm as kind of like a rat in the house. Runs around on the walls. And, you know, you have to kind of say to yourself, well, I'm tired of this rat being in here. It's not doing any good, so I'm going to set some rat traps. And I'm going to catch that rat. And I realize that, you know, we all have little rats running around in our attics. And they're rats of doubt, anger, judgment, whatever it might be. But I had little bits of doubt whether or not, you know, I could be called to do what my Father does. But part of it is there's a purification process that has to go on. First of all, you have to desire it. You have to desire to have Jesus, to understand why Jesus gave his life, and to have Jesus inside of you by believing in him, and to have, you know, that faith in our Father in heaven. And I was listening to last week's show as my brother David played it on the radio, and so I was driving down to Los Angeles. And I was listening, and I heard myself say a few things I didn't quite agree with, which really, really got to me kind of weird, because I thought, that guy's an idiot. It's me. But I didn't think that. But I thought, you know, I don't really know if I agree with that now that I've heard it said. So it's good to be able to say it, you know, to stand up and say what you believe and say what you think. The problem is most of us can never do that without anger, because anger is a driving force, or without judgment, which is the fuel that drives anger, and without belief in the dark side. Because if you don't believe in the judgment and believe in the anger, then it doesn't have a chance to get out. And it comes out usually, and it's the entity that you are feeding. Whatever you feed lives, right? You feed the rats in the belfry, they're going to live and they're going to get bigger. If you set the rat traps and you catch those rats and throw them out, they're just little itty-bitty things, but they somehow cause us to say and do things that we really don't want to, but we're feeding the wrong thing inside of ourselves. Belief in doubt. I doubt. Well, that's belief. How about I have faith? So the problem is we're so busy constantly saying, I don't know what to do. I doubt this, and I'm not sure of myself, and I just don't know. I'm not sure who's going to help me. And it's like all these things that instead of just saying, give me strength, because I'm going to move forward. I know it's the right thing. So this morning, I thought the lady with the wiggly worm was going to be here. You guys know who she is. She's been before, and her wiggly worm has been trying to get out. And I thought to myself, well, today maybe I got to pick up the cross and pick up my faith and get that rat out of that lady. Because I had a rat in me. I think you guys obviously are here. Maybe you have rats in you, and we don't want them. So I thought to myself, then of course the devil says, but you haven't even been baptized. And I'm standing in the shower, and then the voice says to me, I'll baptize you right now. I have been called to sit here. I have been called to have these consciousness, this consciousness. And I thought to myself, well, today, if she shows up, then maybe I'll have to do that. But I thought, I don't know if she'll show up. Thank you for not letting her show up. But I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. I see my Father's strength. I see where it comes from. It comes from his faith in Jesus, for why Jesus came here and our Father in heaven who sent him to deliver us a message. And I thought, I fear not. And then that voice said, I'll baptize you right now. And I just stepped back into the shower and I put my head back and I said, I believe in you, Jesus, and I accept you in my heart. It's heavy. It's real heavy, guys.
Hallelujah.
So, I'm not afraid. I'm happy. Probably because I know my dad's not going to be here forever. And I know that this has to continue on. And I stand up and tell you I'll do it.
Right on.
So, I fear not. It's painful. And it's not pain, it's like, it's letting go. You gotta let go of that old world. You gotta let go of the stuff that binds us. The fear that we have to stand up in front of our families, in front of our children, in front of the people of this world. So, it's heavy, heavy stuff. You know, I don't know what to do, but I know I want to know what to do. And in that moment in time, I will know. That I know. That I don't doubt. I know how Jesus turned to those men on the cross and said, you get it, and there'll be a place for you. And all it is believing. And so in the shower today, I baptized myself. And I thought, can that be? But I didn't baptize myself. I was naked in the shower with Jesus. And I mean, not obviously he wasn't there, otherwise I'd have been embarrassed, but you know, it was like I could just feel this thing happening. And I thought, wow, how do I tell the world about this? This is so embarrassing. This is so weird. And I have so much energy and so much strength. And I started telling you, I worked all day the other day. And then I got in my car at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and I drove all the way to Los Angeles. And I got there at 2 o'clock in the morning and I rented a hotel for 3 hours. And I took a nap and I got up at 5 in the morning. And I took a shower and I went and I did my 3-hour radio show. And I drove all the way back home. And it was like, was I tired? Yeah, my body was tired. Did I learn that when we are called, because you know why? I was excited to be here. I've always wanted this. I've always wanted what my Father has tapped into. And I think that's what you guys want. Mm-hmm. Isn't that what you want, is to tap into what He's tapped into, that beam of light that does cast no shadow, because it's light from inward out. It isn't coming from the light that's next to me or the light that's behind me. It's coming out of me. So there's no shadow comes from a light within. It casts no shadow. So I have no doubt. Now, do I know about business? No. I have to ask every day. I have to ask others. I have to ask myself, show me the direction. Can I see through walls? No. I am just still a guy, but I feel fortified in my belief. I feel strong. I feel happy. I feel blessed. I feel blessed to see my son Jonathan growing and seeing and understanding things at such a young age. I feel blessed that my daughter Rebecca, who's running the cameras and the production work in the back, is being also shown things to be able to help her to not fall prey to the rats that run inside of our heads, the doubt, the resentment, the judgment, temptation. I feel blessed that my little son Christian, he's always had a little bit of a problem with me, adores me now. I don't know why. He can't get enough of me. He wants to hug me and touch me and hold my hand and have me watch TV with him. And he's just a little entrepreneur, and he wants to cut yards for a living, and he wants to do all these things, and he's like 13 years old, and he's going out there and takes an old lawnmower that I have and gets a battery, and 7 o'clock in the morning he's riding up down the street with his lawnmower, my lawnmower, that I don't use because I pay somebody to do it because I don't have time. And I feel blessed that my son Jason is married and has that challenge in front of him and loves me and loves what's right. And that today is my wife's 50th birthday, and she's not here because that would have been embarrassing. I feel blessed that she's not here. But you know what? It's okay, because I'm not doing it for her. I'm not doing it for you. I'm not doing it for anything. I'm just telling you my story. So if something good comes out of that, then that's God's gift to you guys. So, what have I learned? I learned that I'm ready. I'm finally ready. I don't know what I'm ready for, but I'm ready. You know? That's how it is. I stand ready. And if you stand ready, then when it happens, whatever it is, you'll be ready. So it won't be a surprise. And I think if we stand ready in our lives, knowing that evil is just everywhere in this crazy world, but this crazy world is so beautiful that we can stand ready and enjoy the beauty of the world. And when the little chihuahua comes up barking, which is really the evil trying to do something wrong, we look down at the chihuahua and go, "You poor thing," and just ignore it, or say, "Go away, go away." Or sometimes you pick it up and heave it over the fence. Because if it doesn't shut up at some point. I said about somebody the other day, I said, the man is like a rat trap, sprung loaded and ready to just boom, off with the head of anybody that is going to try and pull games. And we have to be kind of ready like that. So when the rats come, their heads get caught in the rat trap and they die on the spot. So I don't know, today's talk perhaps is going to be a little shorter because I wasn't prepared. But I'm ready. So for that, I'll move ahead. Is that fair? So what have I learned lately about life? I guess that's a good way to go. As we all walk through our days, each day turns into a week, turns into a month, into a year, into a decade, into a lifetime. It seems like lately I'm being called upon to be sharper, to not be a dull knife, a butter knife in the drawer, that when God, the ultimate chef, reaches in to pick up a knife and he wants a sharp one that's going to cut a big piece of meat, he doesn't look at the butter knife and go, "I'll use that one." He reaches in and he goes, sharp knife, sharpest knife. And he picks up the sharp knife. So how do I sharpen myself? I have a strong desire to know the truth. And I get caught sometimes in these layers of comfort. Anybody else caught in layers of comfort? Kind of comfortable. Don't have to open my mouth. Don't have to really say too much. Don't want to cause a problem over there. Don't want to cause a problem over there. I'll just stay right here. But sometimes you got to make a ruckus. I've watched my dad my whole life. The guy makes a ruckus wherever he goes. Sometimes he does it in a nice, gentle way. Sometimes he puts his foot down and, boy, the rats run, right? It's like, I know how Moses opened that water because in that moment he had so much faith and he had so much willingness, and he just said, "God, show me what to do." And in the movie, in the Bible, he put his staff down like that, and the water just went, and I've seen my father do that. Now, water hasn't parted, but I can tell you right now, if it needed to, it would have. And I'm sure at that moment in time, just the way in the movie, Moses went, "The hell's going on? How'd I do that?" But you know what? It happened, and he went, "Okay, let's go." So sometimes I think, we have to be okay, just like having so much faith that we know that it's the right thing to do. We know that God knows what's the right thing to do for us. And sometimes you got to throw down the challenge, throw down the gauntlet, look somebody right in the eye and say, "I don't like what you're doing. I don't like the way this is going. Let's talk about it." Too many times in my life, I've just not spoken up when I should have. I promise you right now, I'm not doing that anymore. Am I going to be heading into some battleground? Probably so. Am I ready? Absolutely. It's like Rambo, when he reaches behind and he pulls out the big knife. He's like, or no, that was Crocodile Dundee when the guy says, got a little knife about this big. He goes, "This is a knife." And so that's kind of how I feel. But I got a knife and 2 machine guns and a hand grenade and God. So I think too that you guys have to examine your lives and see where, So I challenge you in that way to look at your lives and see what it is you haven't done that you should be doing. Like yourself, you have given into that comfort of letting that disease take you over. And it's like David said the other day, that disease had you. And you have to now say, "Out, rats, out," because we know that we've seen, we know the stories are there, that anything can be healed with God. So, but you have to believe that. So what happens is the rat, as the rat takes home, why do we give home to this rat, these rats? Why do we give home? Why do we invite the rats in with these weaknesses and open our hearts up and say, here's a home, come on in, weakness. Come on in, rat, you can live right in here. I'll feed you. I'll keep you warm. I got a nice house. Look at my balcony and my deck. You'll have a view when I go like this. And it's like, why do we do that? Instead of saying, "Jesus, make a home in me and cast out those rats that I've allowed." You really have to want to cast out the rats and invite Jesus into your heart. I mean, isn't that what we've been taught? And because He is the way, we have to believe why He came here and what He did while He was here. And then the fact that He is still there watching. Because He came back a couple of times and talked to him, right? He was gone, and then even in the movie He had holes in His hands, like, I don't know that would be because He would probably be made whole again, but I get it that it's a movie. But He came back, and maybe the whole thing that everybody's waiting for Him to come back and walk among us is that He comes back and visits us like He did with me today in the shower. And I had this little baptism thing, and I said, "In the name of the Father and the Son and the Spirit that represents them in me, I accept this mission. I don't want to be this person I've become. Save me from myself. Help me." And without that understanding of you have to cling on to the idea that Jesus can save you from yourself. Because what is it, of myself I can do nothing. So you have to kind of admit that. You cannot. Otherwise you take a knife and you cut yourself open and try and get something out. And then when they find the dead body there with the stomach split open, nobody really knows. Because he was trying to get the rat out. Of yourself you can do nothing. It isn't. There wasn't a rat inside of me. It was what I had projected it to look like and to be. My own crazy thoughts. But I realized there's a rat inside of me. I become a rat. Forgive me. And then guess what? As that sperm and that egg come to life, It is the Spirit of God that gives it life. And the life begins, and then it is revealed to you. All of a sudden, what I realized is that my mother had given me candy when my dad said, don't. The act was so silly and stupid, but what happened was, as a little boy, I said, oh, but Dad's going to find out. Well, Dad won't be home, Eve says to Adam. You won't lose a finger for having a piece of candy. Your dad won't know if you hurry up and eat it, right? She didn't know what she was doing. Jesus looked from the cross down on those people and he said, forgive them, Father. They know not what they do. I could just forgive my mother immediately. It was over. And I saw the hole that the little hole in the bottom of the wall that the rat crawled in. But what happened is, as a little boy, I embraced it. I embraced, oh, what they don't know won't hurt them. What Father doesn't know won't hurt him, but it hurt me. Because I accepted the rat, and I became the rat. I gave home to the rat. And then I had to, at that point, say, rat, be gone. Enough. I see that I don't want to be this way. I don't want to be a rat. I want to be an honest, good, loving, fair, kind person. And you don't represent any of that. You are the spirit of deception. The spirit of deception. So poof, the rat was gone. The feeling of the rat was gone. The doubt that the rat had given me, that hole inside of me, that feeling inside of my gut was gone. And it was replaced with faith that God would show me what I needed to do. That Jesus would guide me. And the Spirit would guide me in my life. Would I have little moments of doubt? Sure. And I'd say, nope. And that's what you have to do. When you see the doubt, let's give it a little picture for your head. When you see the rat trying to get back in the hole, just go, get out, go on. I see you trying to creep back in. There's no home in here for you. That home's gone, doesn't exist. And the people that have the little wiggly worm, the lady that had the wiggly worm, my thought to her was just, do you want that rat in there wiggling around? Then you have to get rid of it. You have to believe that you have let it in. It's time for you to get it out. And you know what? Sometimes people need a little help. And that's what my dad has done. And I realize that. How many of you have little rats that are in the attics, right? We all have them. We all have them. You got to want to get rid of it. You have to go on that personal journey. Now, has the religiosity of our lives and the way it's been presented to us by churches and by hypocrites spoiled that beautiful thing called acceptance of Jesus? That beautiful thing, has it been spoiled? And the devil will even use that to keep you from saying, come into me, Jesus. I need you. I need to have you in me. And I need to embrace that you could do what you did for us. You need to embrace that. And if you can do that and know that He's there. You know, they always talk about the coming of Christ. As far as I'm concerned, He's here. It's just that I may be the only one that can see Him. I don't see Him with my eyes. I see Him with that knowing, that the ever-presence, omnipresent. It's a heavy thing. And now I don't have conversations with Him, but I agree. I'll hear something inside of my soul and I'll go, okay, cool. All right. And I'll be laying in bed and my wife will say, what are you going to do today? And I'll say, I'm going to go give that guy what for? Oh, no, I'm not. I'm going to say, hey, I'm sorry for being rude to you. Where did that come from? Because you know what? God is helping me. Jesus, I'm going to say, is helping me because He knows I desire with all that I am to be what He needs me to be. He needs some warriors in this world. He needs, there's so many of us that will just lay down and let them mow us down with machine guns like they did in Nazi Germany. Do you think I would lay down and let them? I'll tell you what, before we ever even got on the train, I would have everybody already planning to take over these guys. I'm not going to let it happen in my life. I'm not going to lay down. I am going to make sure that when somebody tries to step on me, I grab their foot, twist it to the side, and flip them on the ground. That's judo, am I right? Close enough. Whatever it is, I'll know what to do. And that was a metaphor. The point is that you take the wrong energy. Judo uses, and my father's a judo expert, and my son is, yesterday, by the way, won all 4 of his matches in judo. But the premise behind jiu-jitsu is using the other person's energy to your advantage. And that to me seems like how we have to be when we're fighting these battles. When the energy comes at me, I use it to my advantage. I said to Jonathan, his car broke down the other day. And he says, "What should I do?" And I said, "Well, you're on the top of the hill, and where you need to be is at the bottom of the hill. Use that to your advantage. Start the car, get it going, get it on the road that takes you down the hill, and turn it off and let it coast." And so there he made it to this place from the top of town and didn't destroy his engine because the water ran out of the engine. And so you can take these negative situations that are coming at you and you can use them to your advantage, depending on if it's just simply being wise enough, being ready. Remember what I said? Be ready. And when something happens, my example of this, one time I had sold a car and I had gone to the bad part of town, and the other car I had was a real piece of junk. It was a 1957 or 58 Morris Minor minivan from Europe that had plastic fenders, and it was just the most bizarre-looking little car. It looked like something that Goofy would drive in the cartoons.
Was it a Yugo?
It was a Morris Minor. It was a much better car than a Yugo. But I had sold a car, and I had a friend of mine bring my car and drop it off, my funny little car. And then we got talking and it got dark and I had to drive through a bad part of town in California. And I thought, uh-oh, I'm in a bad part of town. And I had like $5,000 cash in my pocket. And I thought, wow, this is really stupid. And as I thought that, my engine cut off. And I was like, what? The lights went on, and I tried to start it while it was still rolling, and I popped the clutch, and I tried to start it, and it just wouldn't start, I thought. So I pull over on the side of the road, and I thought, I'm completely vulnerable. And I thought, what am I going to do? It was a full moon. And I looked up, and I said, I'm not in the right spot. I looked down at the ground, and something flashed at me. And I looked, and there was a piece of a broken mirror. And I thought, wow. And I picked it up, because I had no flashlight, it was night, and I thought, maybe with the light of the moon, I can look under my car and see if maybe the fuel pump came undone or something. I don't know, something guided me what to look for. And I laid down and I flashed the mirror on the moon and up under the car, and sure enough, the wire, the little nut had come off on the fuel pump, and it was just hanging there. And I reached up and I touched it, and it went brrrr, started pumping gas. And so I pulled off the little piece that allowed it to, have like a little loop on it. And I wrapped the wire around the thread so it would stay on, because a little nut had come off. And it was pumping. And I looked at that piece of mirror and I looked up. I said, thanks. Because the solution is always right in front of you. But you have to be willing. I could have thrown my hands up and, oh, and then people drive up, and then it all happens, right? It was on the wrong side of town. Anyway, point is, I got in my car and I drove out of there, and I thought, I had the premonition, leave now, when I was done with my business. But I got caught up in some other talk. But God gave me the solution. So I got saved. And that's happened to me countless times. Another time, just to give you an example, that when you're living right when you're living in the right spirit, you can make a lot of mistakes, but God has a purpose for you. He's saving you for something. And I've always wondered, what is He saving me for? And one time I was driving down the freeway in the middle of the night, because I will leave to go to Los Angeles at odd hours so I can drive through the night when there's not as much traffic and I can take advantage of the time. And in the middle of nowhere, I got a flat tire, and I thought, oh no, I can't, I'm too far away, I can't keep driving, because the tire would come off, the wheel would probably catch on fire. It was just, there was no way. And I got out of the car, and I'm standing there looking at it, and the guy I bought the car from was going the other direction and had put my spare tire in his trunk before he had gone on his trip, thinking, I better give this tire to Alan. And he comes across the freeway, and this is out near Sacramento, and he goes, hey, I thought that was you. What are you doing? I said, I got a flat tire. He goes, you're not going to believe this. I got your tire in my trunk. Out in the middle of nowhere. It's happened to me, you guys, so many times. And I look up and I go, I know you're watching. So you let me know when it's time. And I tell you, today, He let me know. Today, He let me know. So now where do I go from here? Where do you go from here? I don't know. But I'm ready. How many of you guys are going to join me in that quest? That's the question. At what day do you stand up and say, I've had enough of being weak. I've had enough of being a butter knife. I've had enough of doubting. I've had enough of this rat running around like the wiggly worm lady. I've had enough. God, help me. Come into me. Give me strength. I embrace you. I understand what my purpose is now. My purpose is, David said, to smell the roses. That may be his purpose, but I got a bigger purpose. I know that my purpose is to be the knife, not the butter knife. I've been smelling the roses for my whole life, and I love the smell of roses, but I'm ready to cut deep. I'm ready to be the knife. I'm ready to be the warrior. And I'm not afraid. I fear not. I don't fear losing friends. I don't fear losing family. Because if I did fear that, the devil would know it, and he would take him and her and them. But I fear not. I watched that Bible movie that was on, and I saw as Jesus was going, and he was carrying that heavy cross, and everybody was feeling, whoa, whoa. Jesus was in such horrible pain, but he carried that cross all the way. And all the way, he knew he was going to have to go through that. He knew it, and he just endured that pain. And he got up onto the cross, and he was up there, and the last thing he said was, forgive them because they don't know what they do. So I forgive those in advance for trying things against me. And God forgive them when they try, because they're not going to like what they get back if they try against me. Now, what does that mean? Am I threatening? No. But I'm just not afraid. You know, it's pretty simple. I mean, ultimately, you have to be willing to give up everything. And I heard myself say last week, what people can see that is in this room is this beautiful building that I am watching over right now. If I lose it, I'll lose it. If I lose my home, I'll lose it. If I lose all my cool cars and things, I'll lose them. But I won't lose my faith for a second. If I lose my hair, that would suck. But I'll lose it. You got to be willing, because if you are not all in, then wherever that weakness is where the rat comes back and crawls under the door. You got to be all in. And so many of us, you know, we come, we hear, we listen. I've been one of them. You guys are all of them. I'm one of them. I'm one of you. Year after year after year, we hear, we listen. And then one day, One day for me is today. It happens to be my wife's birthday. And one day we are told, today is your day, that your life will change and you will be all in. And I didn't for a second doubt that. I felt it coming. Do you feel it coming? Do you feel it coming? Have you felt it coming in your lives? You're not up here for no reason. Neither are you or you or you or you or any of you. It's been coming. The question is, have you been pushing it back out? It's up to us to screw this up. It's up to each one of you to screw up your opportunity. Guess what? You get a chance to revisit, but how many times do you revisit? How old do you have to be, right? How old do you have to be to stand up and be courageous and to be, strong and accept what your job is? And my job may be to clean the toilets after you guys leave, because if somebody plugs my toilets one more time, I get to clean them out. Evil is incredibly persistent. It'll go on hours and hours and days and months and years, and eventually you go, well, it must be something because look how persistent it is. It is. It's evil, right? It's persistent as hell. God is there waiting for you to be the persistent one and say, please show me. Please, please show me. Please, 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 double please with a ribbon on it, show me. Show me, show me. And if you are the persistent one, guess who's going to get fed? Let's us be the one that is asking to be fed, and God will feed you. He will give you. But you have to be ready, you have to be willing, you have to be able. And then when He gives you the knowledge, when He gives you the understanding, better word, when He gives you that understanding, and you stand there in awe going, okay, you better deal with it. You better do the right thing with it. You better stand up. You to your father, or you to your mother-in-law or sister or brother, whatever it is, but not with anger. Not with anger. Because if you get angry, the only thing that comes out is when you're ready to blow your horn, you blow all kinds of spew and hate and anger, because that's not where it's supposed to come from. That's why you have to ask God to come into you, and Jesus to come into you, and that Spirit to come into you to guide you and to get rid of that anger, to displace the anger, the rat. And that's how then, and you can feel a calmness about you, a deep calmness. And you feel the depth of the deep blue waters under you, instead of you feel like you're run aground on a sandbar you just can't get off. And right now, I feel the deep blue water under me. And I don't know what's down there. But I know that there's a lot under there. There's everything I need to feed me and to nourish me. And there's a depth to it. And have you ever seen how seaweed grows? It's connected to the bottom, and it comes all the way up to the surface, and it floats. And that root just goes all the way down to the bottom. It's amazing looking, if you've ever seen underwater photography. And life is kind of like that. It's long, with these long, long lives we've lived. I'm 53, and it seems like it's a long time, although it seems like it's a short time. And some of you go, I'm 73. I think Bernie's about 200.
203.
But that root, that root, when it goes all the way down, no matter how old you get, it has to be anchored to something that is very deep within you. Your belief, your connection to a more powerful thing than yourself. And so, is that the best analogy? I don't know. It hit me. But the point is that as the years of my life, that root, even though it's just one strand going all the way to the surface, I look back, and every time there's a leaf, it's a relationship. It's somebody I was kind to. Marilyn's not here today. I can talk about her when she's not here. A couple little kind things I did to her in her life, and man, it's like affected her. And I thought, why did that have such an effect, that little kindness? And the little kindness that we do for people in our lives is a ripple effect into their life, and it gives life, so a leaf grows. So there's not just a line with no leaves all the way to the core of who we are. And my dad always says, I hear him all the time, and I call him my dad. I thought about it the other day because we have a Father in heaven. I have a Father on earth, but he's all of our dads. You know what I mean? He's our papa. At this point in his life, he's the wise old owl. My father has always said, if I can only save one person. So he starts this store in Grants Pass. And I said, Dad, why are you doing that? Grants Pass, not going to embrace that. He said, if I only save one kid, it's worth it. He puts it all out there. All of it. You don't think God loves that? You don't think God has kept him alive through all kinds of debauchery, health issues? And I mean, if you have a purpose, will not God keep you alive to fulfill it? But you have to have that purpose. Is your purpose your children? Is it their grandchildren? Only you know. But you better be on that quest. Because if you're on a quest, God will keep you alive to do His will. Not your will. Your will is have one more really great meal. You know? God's will is to save one more soul that is supposed to be saved from this craziness that is in this world. What cost may it be to save that one soul? It may be everything all of us own. If we would have all gathered, if it was just us, and we were in the days of Jesus when they were trying to kill him, if just this many people were willing to give up every single thing, including the clothes on their back, we may have saved Jesus, right? But there wasn't anybody that was willing to give up everything. We know the stories of Abraham and Joshua and Daniel. But what will we do to be different in this world, on this planet, to humanity? What will we do? I don't know what I'll do, but I'm ready to do it.
Yes, I want to talk about being suppressed. I was one of 8 children. I was the second youngest. And all I ever heard from my sisters and brothers, keep quiet, keep quiet. Children should be seen and not heard. And then I went to a sister school, and every time I raised my hand to ask questions, you have to sit down and know and accept it. So I was very suppressed about speaking up, and now and then I'm able to, only if it moves me and I can. But I want to tell you, I was very impressed with Jonathan last week. When he talked, it really affected me. He says, you have to let it go. And what I did was hold on to it. I was going to fix myself.
Right.
And it really bothered me.
And you've been holding on to that for how many, 50 years? Plus?
80.
Are you that old?
I'm 84.
Oh, look at you. Good for you.
And it bothered me all week. And I said, oh, I'm not going to go Sunday because I don't think Roy's going to be there. And then something said to me, no, you have to go and you tell Alan. You should be very proud of your son.
I am.
He helped me. He really did.
Well, you know what? I think that you guys are helping him. Because how can I, as a father, convey to my children what horrors are in this world? Can't do it. I can't draw pictures. I can't show them photography. What they see is the spirit of that horrible stuff that's happened to you guys. They see that. My daughter says to me the other day, I was very mad about something. And I thought this was very cute, Rebecca. I was angry. I was angry, frustrated, beside myself. So I was just being quiet, because we all have those feelings, right? You get pissed off, best way to say it. I was just pissed off, and I thought, I'm going to just sit with this. I'm going to sit with it, because I don't want to be pissed off. I want to know the truth. Am I angry at myself? Am I angry at him? So I sat in a chair, and I sat there and looked out the window. And I was just sitting in there. Of course, it was a very comfortable chair. It wasn't like this stool I'm sitting on. I was very relaxed, laid back, just sitting there. And I felt this urge to cry. And is it me that wants to cry? Or is it my will, my pride, my arrogance? What is it? Which one of those rats inside of me wants to cry, right? Because not always the feelings that we feel are us. That wiggly worm that's trying to get out of that lady, it's not her that's trying to get out, it's it that's trying to get out because she's starting to wake up a little bit. And the more she wakes up, the more it's going to wiggle around and run around. It's looking for a new home. It's looking for a place to hide. You don't give it a place to hide, it's got to get out sooner or later. So I was looking, and Rebecca walks by with her little rat dog. What is that thing? Pomeranian. She has this little Pomeranian, little tiny rat. And she's rubbing it. Cute little thing that it is, but and she says, Dad, remember what Grandpa says. If you're angry, you're susceptible to being hypnotized. And I went, what? Have you been listening? And controlled. Because if you're angry and hypnotized is controlled, right? Because if somebody hypnotizes you, what are they going to do? They're going to control you. And then she just kind of walked off. And I was like, did God send her to tell me that? More than likely. She was a vessel of that. But she saw it on her own, which was great. Thank God that my children are there with me to help me to be a better man, and I with them to be a better woman and a better man. And men, we're here for each other to help each other to be better people, better human beings. And I thought, isn't that cute? She gets it. Luke, is she smiling right now? Yeah, she is. So, you guys have helped my kids, and for that I thank you by showing your pain. And therefore, I give that same, I showed you my pain today at the beginning. And it wasn't a pain so much as this vessel, this body that we have, that we get to use until we get to the next place. I'm supposed to take care of it. I cut it today. I'm wearing a Band-Aid on my finger. You know, it's like, stupid me, reached into a bunch of razor blades but I try and take care of this thing. I try and dress it up pretty nice to be here. You know, I get up. I didn't get much sleep, but I got up and I shaved and I brushed my hair and I forgot to brush my teeth. But I'll keep my teeth hidden from me. But I try my best. I put the best foot forward to take care of this vessel. And then every now and then, when there's a metaphysical moment where mind, body, and spirit have a moment like I had in the beginning here, where my body was feeling that tender moment of pain like I should have been here long ago. Maybe that's what I was feeling, is it why now? But I'm glad I'm not 85, 75, 65, 55. I'm 52 and 3/4. And I'm happy, I'm happy to have gotten here. I always wondered, when, Lord, am I going to get to that place where I choose good all the time? Instead of, hey, there's $10. Nobody saw, right? Nope, let's keep moving. The little devil's always there. The devil's always there. Nobody's looking. Somebody sent me a camera over here that's probably worth $25,000. I called him up and I said, this is not my camera. Where would you like me to send it? Temptation says, okay, well, you said. Now if they don't answer, it's yours. But I'm not going to be. I'm going to be that persistent returner of things that are not mine. Right? So you got to remind me, make sure we send this thing back. Point is, if it ain't yours, don't take it. Be persistent in doing the right things, just like that you were saying about that dog that's persistent and you feed it. I don't want to feed the fact that I got a $25,000 camera over there that somebody thinks is mine that isn't. So, no matter what it is, be persistent in doing the right thing. And I finally hit that tipping point in my life. Thank God. Thank God. Thank you, God. Because as you climb that hill to get there, it's a climb, isn't it? But all of a sudden, it's effortless for me now. I stand on top of my own crazy mountain of good and evil. And all of a sudden, it seems like I'm just going to have this much easier life now because I have finally been persistent enough, to your point, that I have persevered. Now, is my life going to be easy? No. It may get more difficult. I'm okay with that. I'm not looking for easy life. Anybody else in here looking for easy life? If you are, you better look at that, because it don't exist. And then as I say that, then God said to me, oh yes it does. So you know what? But I don't know where it is. It's obviously in a very special place when you are blessed and you are doing the right thing and you are a vessel and your purpose is for the higher purpose, for the greater cause of mankind. And therefore, maybe I lose my life and I go to that easy life. Maybe I have a long, long life the way my father has and suffered along the way so that you guys could all learn from how to and learn how to deal with suffering, because that's the one thing he's taught me is I wanted to cry from that so bad, that little cut on my finger, but I resisted the temptation. Today I'm a better man. But you know, when we have sufferings upon us, that is when you call out and say, I know I need this suffering. Because without the suffering, you would not have woken up. And if you feel that suffering, and you don't reach out and say, thank you for this, now I will listen to you. You are talking to me, and I will stand up and be the woman or man I am supposed to be. Because this suffering has brought me closer to you. The recognition of that pain, of that suffering. If you deny that, if you just say, oh, it hurts, oh, it'll just keep hurting until it's all over.
You don't want to suffer through your suffering.
Okay, I'm not sure about that one. He said you don't want to suffer through your suffering. Well, and that's kind of true. Hold on, you got to sit down over there. Get yourself on mic. Here, he's got to put himself on camera. This is how social media works, everybody. I'll put myself on camera.
You don't want to suffer through your suffering in a sense, like you're saying. You don't want to be whining about it and, oh, poor me. You don't want to be in that mindset of, why me, why this? Just think of it as it's just the next thing you have to go through.
Let me just finish on that point. In life, every day, there's little things. You can stub your toe, cut your finger off, you can have your legs blown off. Just happened in Boston. Has anybody seen that picture of the man in the wheelchair with the bones sticking out of the front of his legs, no feet? Horrible. And I was more interested in seeing the bones of the legs sticking out as they wheeled him. I looked at the face of the man. And do you know that he did not look like he just had a kind of not a blank stare, but almost like if you just looked at his face and said, what just happened to this man? Nobody could tell you that his legs just got blown off. Now, I don't know that man. There was a little bit of a story about the man that had helped him next to him, whose brother had committed suicide, and there's all kinds of interesting stories. But in your life, on a daily basis, you will be confronted. Daily, hourly sometimes. And I'll tell you, that's why a lot of people love to fall to sleep, because if they can get themselves into a sleep, they can escape it for a few minutes. So to your point, son, it happens all the time. And how you react to that happening is what makes you a better person or a bitter person.
Well, what I was getting at was, when you ask God, when you say, God, teach me patience, give me forgiveness, God doesn't just, okay, now you have forgiveness. He gives you an opportunity to be forgiving. So if you're not being tried and there's not things pulling on you, then you don't have any opportunities to get any better.
That's right.
So don't look at these things like, oh, poor me. Look at them, now I have an opportunity to get better.
That's right. Thank you. But if you keep on making the same mistakes again, it's like being an animal, a dog, and vomiting and returning and eating your own vomit. It's ridiculous, but people do it. They return and do the same stupid thing year after year. They get married once, twice, 3, 4, 5, and never learn what they were supposed to from the first time they vomited it out. They consume it again and do it all over and vomit it out again. And you know what? God's going to let you keep doing it. A guy one time came to me, he had one arm cut off from here down, and he had been burned half of his body from a motorcycle crash. And his girlfriend on the back of his motorcycle was killed. If that's not a wake-up call. And he asked to borrow a car from me, and he was working for me on my business, and I let him live in a little travel trailer. And I said to him, I said, look, if you only go, he wanted to use my car to go do his laundry. If you only go to the laundromat and back, you can use my car. And that night, at about 10 o'clock at night, I get a call from the police. He had crashed my car. He had put his face through the windshield and just destroyed his whole entire face and ripped his mouth all the way open, both sides, and his eyes, because he went through the windshield like this. And the car caught on fire, and they reached in and they grabbed his arm that was gone. And they went, oh, his arm's gone! And somebody looks in there and looks at him and says, nope, that was already gone. And they grabbed the other arm and yanked him out. But I went to visit him after he was all done, and he'd come back to the travel trailer. And he had stitches all over his face, and he had cuts and bruises all over him. And he opens the door, and his head was like a basketball. It looked like it had stitches all over it. It was huge and swollen. And I took a picture of him. I said, I'm going to take a picture of you, and I'm going to put it on your door, and you look at it every time before you go out that door. Because obviously, you haven't learned your lesson yet. He says to me, God has a purpose for me, otherwise he wouldn't let me still be alive. And I went, wow! Talk about not getting it, right? I said, just so you know, brother, God's going to let you. You can just take a knife and cut your arms and legs off right now. He's going to let you. It isn't about God's keeping you alive for a purpose. It's God's keeping you alive until you learn that thing about yourself and until you become a vessel to help somebody else learn something good. But you can destroy yourself. You can get in your car right outside right now and drive right into a pole if you want. God's not going to go, oh, stop! He's not. Now, but if he wants you alive and somebody else is driving into you, he'll make you make a turn just before it happens. So God can intervene, but it doesn't mean he's gonna. So don't test God. This guy was testing God. So he was drunk is what happened. But I thought to myself, wow, what arrogance to think that you can go out and be a fool and God's keeping you alive for some reason. God's keeping you alive until you kill yourself. And then it's over. But I had kind of a special thing that happened to me, and I was willing. I thought, today I'm going to have to yank a rat out of somebody. Call it what you want, because I thought that lady needed some help. But you know what? Maybe she doubted herself today, just like you, and just like a few of you that said, well, Roy won't be there. And I was willing to walk over to that woman and do what it took. And I believe I know what it would take to do it. I do believe. And I don't say that like, I do believe. I do believe. And I don't think it's that big of a deal, truthfully, and that's why my father just does it. No big deal. Whenever you're ready, you come on up and sit here on the table, and we'll get that rat out of there. But you have to want to do it first. If you don't want to do it, then you're caging it inside of you. I don't want it out, but it's wiggling around. You can yell all kinds of weird things. Until you truly want to displace it with God, with something good, then it's just going to make its home there and stay. Thanks for coming, everybody. Well, I hope that you've enjoyed the I Stand Ready from 2013. I got to see myself and learn from myself, like my father said, Today I now have to wear glasses. I have a little more silver hair, but I feel like I'm a little bit more wiser. I still stand ready. Sadly, 4 or 5 of those people that are in that audience are no longer with us, even the young man in the very front row. It's very sad. We don't know how long we have on this earth to do our jobs, so we must stand ready at all times. What will you do in your life if you were called today to do something of honor? Well, I say you are called every day. Your families are what matter, the neighbor, the kid down the street, the person inside the shopping mall that you may be going to or may not be going to right now because of our situation. It matters that you live this every day. As my father says, he says, I don't worship, I live it. And I've learned that my life needs to be a reflection of my religion and my belief. So I hope that you'll join me in that. This foundation of human understanding is for that purpose. My father has done many good things, including the meditation exercise, which again will be a special project coming up. So look for that. I'll make sure to talk about it on this show. That's about it for me this Sunday. Sunday conversations are important to me. I enjoy them. And today I'm all by myself, except our good friend Sanjay Gupta, who is filming this for us. Thank you for watching.